So Power Rangers watching themselves on TV. Wait, what? Hi everyone, and welcome to another episode of Ranger Rants. Of course, everyone knows I'm Archer 9234. Today I'll be discussing most famous and most surprising episode from Power Rangers Dino Thunder titled Lost and Found in Translation. This episode marks the first time in PR history where we actually finally watch a Super Sentai series. Unfortunately, they made it look almost like a joke, and that's the reason why I never liked it. In this episode of Dino Thunder, we're actually watching episode 10 from Power Rangers titled Abare Liger Bind. This episode was actually never adapted into PR, and that's the reason why they used it, because it was the most lightheartedness episode they could actually use from Power Ranger without running into censoring issues, even though they kind of did still in this episode. But overall, this episode was really much the only one they could have aired. Now, the problem I have with this episode is because they made the episode turn into somewhat of a joke, and it looked like they were insulting Super Sentai. I understand that that was not their intention originally, and I know Toei would have never have allowed this episode to have been aired if they insulted their property, because it wouldn't have made sense. But I didn't like it because it just frankly flat out said, this is dumb, this is stupid, this is too crazy. This episode was originally made because ABC Family was doing a weird promotional thing for a whole week where they were going Japan crazy with this, about their culture, about their stuff, and blah, blah, blah. So this bottle episode from Dino Thunder was made for this particular reason. Now, before it originally aired, I thought, when I first heard the announcement of this episode, I really thought, oh wow, PR is going to finally acknowledge Super Sentai in a cool way. We're going to see behind-the-scene footage. We're going to hear, the cast members are going to talk about how they're adapting footage. We may even see producers. It may have been a special interview episode. That's what I was expecting. And then we get our standalone episode that really didn't make any sense. The basic premise of the episode is where Ethan was watching Haley's TV, which had access to loads of channels, including foreign channels. Kira and Connor walked in because they were just like wondering where Ethan was, because they had to do a project on different cultural aspects from different countries. While Ethan turns the channel and then stumbles upon Abba Ranger episode. While it was cool that they were watching the Abba Ranger episode, it felt forced. It mainly didn't feel right because Tommy and Trent were missing from the episode. I understand it was kind of earlier in the season, and Trent at this point was already a villain, but they could have squeezed them in so a little bit of more interaction. Now let's talk about the episode itself. Now in this circumstance, the episode was actually dubbed over. While it was cool that they retained the original music track from the episode itself. You're actually hearing the original music that was in the episode of Power Ranger, including its sound effects. Unfortunately, they replaced all the dialogue. Most of the main plot was retained, while the same thing with Wacky Wilson and all the plot points between the monster trying to corrupt people into wanting money, and him being with the chiropractor stuff for Yukito, that was pretty much the same. However, there were a lot of things that I did not like about when they translated them. The main thing is that they changed most of the characters' names. If you notice that a lot of the characters had English names, well, of course that wouldn't make any sense. The bald guy entering the curry shop was Mr. Oshanzi in Dino Thunder. His real name is Yokota. Asuka, Abare Black, his name was changed into Mikey. And since this episode really didn't feature him because he was sick from Yukito's special curry, we never got anything out of that. Yukito's first name was actually changed too. His original name was Sanjo, but in Dino Thunder they changed it to Kenny. Unfortunately, Yellow and Red never got an American name at all. We never knew their names in the episode. The main monster from this Abba Ranger episode was renamed too. His Dino Thunder name was Kaching, while his original Japanese name was Bankumatsu Sushijiro, which again they shortened it obviously to Kaching, but I wish since it was a Japanese episode they should have just left the name intact. The cool thing I like though about the episode is that Yukito's dubbed voice was actually Blake from Ninja Storm. Other than that, the other voice actors were pretty much not really special. They were just extras, and they were not really important to Dino Thunder. So as the episode is playing along, Connor has a really, really big problem with how the Japanese people are portraying themselves. In reality, PR is portraying Super Sentai. He was having problems with the bad suits, the bad acting, the bad plot points. When I was like, I'm thinking to myself in my head, you're kind of also bad mouthing your own show because PR always has the bad suits. You're always going to see bad suits. You have weird and corny acting, and nothing is really believable. So he was kind of bad mouthing the show he's on. So it was kind of ironic. While they do try to follow the main plot points to the story, certain things really change. For example, whenever they go inside the evil den lair where we're seeing all the original villains, they pretty much changed pretty much everything they were talking about. The main head villainess, the little girl, they changed all her lines to try to make it a little bit more lighthearted, mainly because of the censoring issue, because she was basically abusing the monsters and her subordinate. So that's the reason why they gave her those corny lines in order to cover up the abuse. Even though they still showed it, which I thought was kind of, I'm surprised, because you're seeing someone electrocuting someone else, and especially a human person, so I'm surprised that got through. They also try to avoid the issue with the red girl, who was originally s.p.d. She's the one who transforms into s.p.d. and Alba Ranger, and they try to avoid that aspect of the character so we don't get for the people who are watching the show don't get confused, or they just don't want to go into that aspect. It would have spoiled the moment with s.p.d. Being revealed to Tommy later on in the Dino Thunder episodes. A lot of aspects of the episode I didn't like also because of the extra characters in the Alba Ranger episode were not portrayed correctly at all. Their friend in the sushi shop was not acting like that in Alba Rangers. The worst insult, I think, for the episode was the Changers that talked. In Alba Ranger, the Changers are alive because they're linked up to the mechas. They're alive as well. They talk to them. They're close friends to the Alba Rangers. But when they gave them those stupid, corny voices, I thought they were treating it as a joke and not actually, an aspect part of the show. And that's where it killed me, the episode. I was like, you're making fun of a Super Sentai which you're originating from. Why are you insulting the show? So as the episode goes along, we finally get introduced to the main character, which is an American baseball player. In Dino Thunder, he's called Wacky Wilson. He was speaking Japanese. Even though he was an American person, he was speaking Japanese inside the original episode. That's the reason why he had to be dubbed too. Except for that one moment where he was actually saying something in English when he said "what." That was the only time he actually spoke English in the episode. Now Connor had the most problem with the time where they were bad-mouthing national pastime of baseball. I kind of didn't get why he was saying that, but they really weren't bad-mouthing baseball at all. They were just making fun of the huge amounts of money American baseball people were making. They weren't really bad-mouthing the sport, because in fact, Japanese people love baseball just as much as American people who love baseball. So I kind of didn't get why Connor was going crazy at that point and not other points. So as the episode goes along, Connor unfortunately quits and gives up before he finishes watching the episode. I understand why he was pissed off, because in their point of view, Japan is copying Power Rangers and they're basically trying to make fun of their lives. So I understand from his point of view why he quit. But at least Ethan and Kira were sticking through it and were accepting, well, it's different. It's not supposed to be the same way. I understand they're the ones who are trying to keep the balance between I hate this and this is still good. It's just that Connor felt way too forced in the episode. Now the reason why I hated them picking this particular episode to be actually dubbed for Dino Thunder is that they picked the most weirdest episode with turning the hair into different colors. That wasn't even explained in the episode. That was how they were being brainwashed. They really didn't explain it, so it was just being thrown in there like a stupid thing, and that's the reason why I wish they didn't use this episode. So Connor comes back to get his bag, and then he finally gives the show a second chance. Now he was finally getting into the show's action, because we were finally getting to that point. Now the thing I didn't like though is that they actually said Dino Thunder power up. How would anyone know the morph call, what they say? In order for someone to know that, they would actually have to be there during their morph. That means the person would have found out who they were. I thought that was really ridiculous, because that wouldn't have made any sense. And first of all, why would they be saying Dino Thunder power up? It would be something in Japanese and it wouldn't match anything. It was even pointed out in the episode, so it made even less sense. All the other special moves and finishers were retaining their English names. How would anyone know that unless someone was watching? So as the episode was going along, there was a weird moment of editing done to the Alba Ranger episode, especially where where the Rangers were wearing the wigs. That actually happened a little bit later on in the episode. That's the reason why the footage doesn't match up to that moment where they're redoing the roll call. They were doing the roll call within the main episode, then also they did the roll call like 2 seconds later. That was actually part of a later sequence later on in the episode. It was nice that they do give out the moral of the story where, you know, money is greedy and all that stuff. I thought that was cool, so we're actually doing a little more moral of the story. And we also finally do get to see Asuka in action, and we do get to see the Raptor Riders in action too, which is another thing that didn't make any sense. So when the episode ended, Connor was like, you know what, this is not bad. And I was like, I misjudged it. And so he thought of his report on the, for his social studies report for different cultures and stuff about this episode. So he rewatched it again, and it was cool that Ethan and Kira were like, oh, good, you actually enjoyed it and you watched it through. So we also got another moral for the Dino Thunder episode, don't judge a book by its cover. Overall, I have to give the episode a 2 out of 5. I really didn't like this episode because the way they dubbed it, it made it feel like a joke, more so than a rather actual faithful dub to the episode. I didn't mind that they were dubbing the episode, but I was expecting them to at least follow it to some sense. I understand they had to do certain censoring edits because, for example, there was a time where Yukito, Albert Blue, he got punched in the face by the monster, so they had to cut to a Connor reaction shot to cover up that thing because they can't show that kind of. You're not allowed to show being punched in the face. In the Disney era of the seasons, you were not allowed to show that. Overall, the aspect of the episode, it was too bizarre. It wasn't a standard Dino Thunder episode. That was another problem. It wasn't a behind the scenes episode, which was another problem. It didn't know what to do. It just felt like a forced episode, which is why I never liked it. What do you guys personally think of this episode? Did you love it because we finally got to see Super Sentai in a proper fashion or semi-proper fashion? Did you hate it like me because you thought it felt like an insult to Super Sentai, even though it really wasn't to? That's the reason why I didn't care for this episode. I usually don't like watching it. And particularly since it doesn't have any main plot point to Dino Thunder, you can pretty much watch it or not watch it without losing any aspect of Dino Thunder. Again, everyone leave your comments below for what you think about the episode, and also continue suggesting new episodes for me to review. Thanks again for watching. I'll see you guys right back here next week.